Hi friends, welcome to Azure Content. This is part 16 in Azure Data Factory playlist. In this video, we are going to learn about different copy behaviors in copy activity of Azure Data Factory pipeline. Okay, so let's move ahead to the next slide. So whenever your requirement is to copy data to some file data store, that means the sink will be some file data store. We have already talked about what are the different types of file data stores supported by ADF. So please go through the previous videos in series. So currently in our scenario, we have ADLS as our sink data set, and we are taking delimited text file. Okay, so in that scenario you can see we have some option called copy behavior. Okay, so copy behavior option indicates what will be the behavior of copy action while copying the data from one location to another. Okay, so currently we have three options: preserve hierarchy, flatten hierarchy, and merge files. Okay, so we will practically learn about each of these copy behaviors in details. So let's move ahead. So preserve hierarchy is the default selection when you drag and drop the copy activity. This is the default selection in the copy behavior when your sink is the file data store. Okay, which means when you are copying from one container to another container, whatever file hierarchy you have in that container, it will be copied to the target location in the same hierarchy. Okay, and it also says the relative path of source file to source folder is identical to relative path of target file to target folder. So let me make you understand with the help of some example. So you can see, suppose in our container, this is the folder structure or folder hierarchy. Okay, so suppose we have the input container. Okay, so in this container we have a folder called folder A, and in the same level we have two files, that is file1.csv and file2.csv. Okay, and inside folder A we have two files, that is file3.csv, file4.csv, and we have a subfolder called subfolder 1. Okay, and inside this subfolder 1 we have another two files, file5.csv and file6.csv. so we have three level of hierarchies. Okay, one is folder level, we have two files, and inside folder we have another two files, and inside subfolder we have another two files. Okay, so in total we have six files. So if we select preserve hierarchy as the copy behavior, then what it is going to do is it is going to maintain the hierarchy present in the input container, which means it will copy the files in the same manner as is present in the source container. Okay, so you can see if you are copying all the files from input to output container, okay, then it will have the same folder structure, which means you can see file 1 is present in the folder level, that is in the same level as folder A, and inside folder A we have two files, that is file3.csv and file4.csv, and we also have one subfolder in folder A, and inside subfolder whatever files are present, it is maintained in the same hierarchy. So this is what will be done in preserve hierarchy case. So let's try to practically see this case, and then we will move ahead to understand the other two cases, that is flatten hierarchy and merge files. Okay, so let me go to Azure portal, and here we have a container called ABC container, and in the container we have the same folder structure which we saw in the presentation. Okay, so you can see we have a folder A, and in the same level we have file1.csv and file2.csv. so which means these two files are present directly in the ABC container, and this folder is also present in the ABC container. Okay, so it is not inside any other folders. Okay, so it is directly present in the container level. Okay, and inside this folder we have one subfolder and two other files. Okay, and inside this subfolder we have another two files. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to copy all these files to another output container. Okay, we will create that container on the fly, and we will see if using preserve hierarchy as the copy behavior, we are going to have the same hierarchy level for all the files or not. Okay, so let me go to ADF portal and let me start creating a pipeline where we will use copy activity. Let me drag the copy activity in the pipeline canvas, and here we will create a source dataset pointing to ABC container. Okay, so let me create dataset for ADLS Gen 2 and let me select CSV file format and let me select the existing link service, and here in the file path let me navigate to ABC container. I'm not going to select any folder or any file. Let me click on OK and let me click on first row as header, because in all the files, let me show you the content. We have ID, name and gender, and this is the column that we have. That means we have the header row. Okay, so you can see all the files are having same schema. That means we have the same column names in all the files. Let me show you randomly any other files. Okay, just the content or the data inside the file is different for each of the files. Okay, so let me go back and here let me select first row as header, and I'm not going to import any schema. I'm just pointing to the container level. Okay, let me click on OK and let me go to sync and let me create another dataset pointing to ADLS Gen 2 and let me select CSV as the format, and here we will create a new container. Currently we do not have any container called ABC output container, so let me select ABC output container. So this will create the container on the fly, and in this as well we will just select first row as header, and I'm not going to import any schema. So now in the sync configuration you can see we have the option called copy behavior. Okay, it defines the behavior when copying files from one file system like storage to another. Okay, so by default it is selected as none, but this none option will behave the same way as preserve hierarchy. Okay, so if I directly run this copy activity without selecting preserve hierarchy, it will do the same job as will be done by preserve hierarchy. Okay, so first of all let me go with preserve hierarchy, and then we will see if the hierarchy is maintained or not, and once that is done we will see none option is also behaving the same way or not. Okay, so I have selected preserve hierarchy. So what we are expecting is once we debug this pipeline, it will copy all the content of the ABC container into output container with the same level. Okay, so it should have three resources directly in the container, that is folder A and two files, and inside folder A which it should have another two files, and subfolder A, and inside subfolder A it should have another two files. Okay, and the content should also remain the same. That means data should also be preserved. Okay, so before debugging the pipeline, I have missed one step here. So currently the dataset is pointing to container level in source, but as we have to copy all the files, so I am going to go with wildcard file path, and here we have to select star. Okay, either we can give star.csv because all the files are in CSV format, or we can simply give star. So now it will select all the files and it will copy to the output container with the same hierarchy level because we have selected preserve hierarchy. Okay, so let me debug and we will see if that is the actual output or not. Whatever we are expecting is coming as the actual output or not. So let's wait for the copy activity to be completed. Then we will see another container should be generated as the output container. So let's wait. Yeah, so copy activity has finished its job. Let's go to the ADLS storage account, and here let me hit on refresh. Yeah, so you can see this new output container has been generated now after copy activity completion. And if I go inside, you can see it has the same folder structure as was present in the input container. Let me duplicate this tab and we will just compare it with the output container. So you can see we have same file1, file2 and folder A in the output container as well. And if I go inside folder A, you can see we have file 3 and file 4 and subfolder A. Okay, this is the same as source container. Okay, and inside subfolder A we have file 5 and file 6. Okay, similar to what we have in the source. Okay, so we are good with preserve hierarchy. Now let me do one thing. Let me delete this output container and we will check if the same thing is happening with none option as well or not. Okay, so let me go ahead and in the sync let me hit on none, and it should do the same job as was done by preserve hierarchy. Okay, so currently we do not have ADLS output container. It should create the container on the fly, and it should also copy all the files in the same hierarchy as is present in the source. So let's wait for the copy activity to be completed. Yeah, so the copy activity has been completed. Let me go to ADLS account and let me hit on refresh, and now we can see output container. So it is having the same folder structure as preserve hierarchy case. Okay, so what we conclude is, in copy activity by default we have none as the copy behavior, which behaves the same way as preserve hierarchy. So default selection is preserve hierarchy in copy activity. Okay, so let me again delete the output container, and this time we will go ahead with flatten hierarchy in the copy behavior. And before that, let me go to the presentation and understand what is this flatten hierarchy. So when we select flatten hierarchy in copy behavior, all the files from the source folder are in the first level of the target folder. The target files have auto-generated names. Okay, so what it does is, when you copy using flatten hierarchy as the copy behavior, it will copy all the files into the target folder as the first level in the hierarchy, which means it will not be copied inside any of the folder or subfolder. It will directly be copied into the container by flattening the hierarchy. Okay, and also it will auto generate the file names in this manner. Okay, so the output file name will be like data underscore, and then it will generate some unique numbers for each of the files. That means data underscore with some globally unique identifier as the suffix. Okay, so each file names will be different. So let's practically make use of flatten hierarchy, and let's see uh, if it is giving the expected result or not. Okay, and here in the sync settings, let me just do this change, that is to select flatten hierarchy in the copy behavior. Okay, and as we have already cleared the output container, so we are good to go. Let me hit on debug, and let's wait for the pipeline execution to be completed, and then we will see if all the 6 files are getting generated in the first level of hierarchy in output container or not. Okay, so let's wait for the pipeline execution to be completed. Yeah, so the pipeline is completed. Let me go to ADLS and let me hit on refresh. So you can see output container has been generated again, and let me see the content here. So you can see there are 1 2 3 4 5 6 files coming from the source, but you can see the hierarchy is not preserved in this case, as it has been flattened using flattened hierarchy copy behavior. And if we see the content, so this is coming from different files. Okay, now let me again delete the output container, and this time we will go ahead and use merge files. Okay, so before that, let me go to the presentation again, and let's understand what merge files option in copy behavior will do. So merge files option will merge all the files from the source folder to one file. If the file name is specified, the merge file name is the specified name. Otherwise, it is auto-generated file name. So basically, it will merge all the files coming from the source container into a single file in the sync. So the prerequisite for using merge files is to have same column structure or same schema for all the files in the source container. Okay, so let's see everything in practical. Let me go into the ADF pipeline again, and this time we will select merge files, and we are expecting that all the files from the source container, that is all these 6 files, will be merged into single file. Okay, so currently I have the same schema in all the files, so probably this will work fine, but later part of this video we will change the schema to some different column names, or we will add a few other columns in some of the files, and we will see if it works or not. Okay, so first of all, let me hit on debug, and we will see if all the data is getting merged into single file or not. Let's wait for the completion. So currently in the source files we have single data in each of the files. Okay, so you can see each of the files is having one record each. Okay, so after merge file will be completed, we will see 6 record in the single file. Okay, so let's see if the pipeline execution is completed or not. Yeah, so the activity is completed. Let me go to the storage account, and here let's hit on refresh to see if output container is regenerated or not. Yeah, so you can see output container has been created, and inside this you can see only one file is there, which is the merged file, and its name is data underscore and then some GUID. Okay, so let's see the content inside this file. Yeah, so you can see we have 6 rows, which means each of the rows are coming from each of the files from the source container, as we only had one row per file. Okay, so we currently have 6 rows in the output file, which means all of the files have been merged into single file in the output. Okay, now if we don't want this kind of file name, which means auto generated file name, then we can simply go into the sync, and here we can mention the file name as suppose merged file.csv. Okay, and let me delete this file from the output container, and we will rerun the pipeline and we will see if we are getting the desired file name or not. So let's wait for the pipeline to be completed. Yeah, so execution is completed. Let's check if the file name is correct or not. You can see file name is coming as merged file.csv and the content will be the same. Let's validate. Yeah, so we can give the desired file name in case of merged file by going into the sync dataset. Okay, now let's just validate if the schemas are different in different files in the source. Will this merge file work or not? Okay, so before making the changes, let me clear this output container first. So the container is empty. So currently all the files is having same schema, that is uh, ID, name and gender. Okay, so let's do one thing. In few of the files, let me add some other columns and let me remove the existing column. Okay, so here let me add age column and let me give some random age and let me remove name from here. Okay, and let me hit on save, and similarly let me go to file 3 and let me change the schema. Let me remove gender from here and let me give contact as the column. Let me just randomly give some number and let me hit on save. And now let me go to subfolder, and inside this let me change file 5, and this time let me remove everything and let me just give employee name as the column name and let me give XYZ as the column value. Okay, so we have made changes in 3 files, file 1, file 3 and file 5. Okay, now let's see if this merge files option works for this scenario or not. Okay, so I'm not going to change anything in pipeline. Let me just hit on debug and let's wait for the output file to be generated. So the pipeline is successful, it has not failed. Let's check in the output what is the schema for this merged file. Okay, so let me check in edit. Okay, so it is just giving emp name and it has taken all the records from the first column. Okay, these were the IDs and this was the emp name from the file 5. Okay, and let me delete this file and let me rerun the pipeline. So let's wait for the execution to be completed. Now let me go to the output container and let's check the schema again for this merged file. So you can see this time the schema is different. I did not make any changes to the source files, neither I made any changes in the pipeline. But now let's just understand what is happening behind the scenes. So the pipeline is not failing even though the schemas are different for source files. The only thing is, what is happening is, while performing this merge activity for all the files, whatever is the first file this copy activity is taking for the merge, it is considering the same schema for the output file. Okay, so every time whenever we are running the pipeline, the output file is taking different schema, as you can see. Okay, so before this run it took only emp name, and this time it took id, name and contact, which was the schema for one of the files. Okay, so this is what happening behind the scenes. So I would recommend whenever you have to merge files, you just make sure that the schema for all the files in the source is same, then only you can rely on this merge files option. Okay, so we have covered all the three scenarios for copy behavior, that is preserve hierarchy, flatten hierarchy and merge files. Okay, so that's it for this video guys. I hope you liked the content. Please hit on like button and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done it yet. Thank you.